expressed on the internet would be censored.
We are live. We are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
I literally went to the polls with nothing in mind. I saw a can of orange soda in the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, there we go. An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I got to vote for Trump, dude.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate. It's absolutely mental.
I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of offensive when you talk so much about the Loch Ness Monster.
Political climate.
And Andrew, treat yourself, okay? Especially if you start, I don't know, getting in good with homeless people.
Unauthorized Opinions, streaming everywhere at uopod.com. Cock-a-doodly-doodly-doo, man. Oh my god, we're here again. I thought there was a rap coming right there. It didn't have a rap. uopod.com, unauthorizedopinions.com. We'll just pretend I said .com for both. And ignore any other filthy minds that we have at the moment. We're live streaming on YouTube, Rumble, and X. I think there's some sort of screwing up of Twitch today, so we won't be on there. If you're listening on Spotify, which many of you are, Apple, I don't know how many of you are, and Google, which I think is being defunct soon, you're one of the last survivors, or iHeartRadio, please subscribe there and leave us a review. We've got lots to get to today. The Year of the Crybaby is the episode name, and that's because we've got a lot of crybabies. We've got Don Lemon crying on the NELK Boys podcast. He's not making any sense. Good sport, but not making any sense. Who else do we got? We've got Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is showing us that he truly cares, finally, in what his next gift to the people is. We've got the WNBA, the basketball. We're talking about demise in real time through social justice and through its inability to accept the gift that it's been given, the gift of viewership and sponsors. So we'll get to that. I want to start off by talking about the 70s and the 80s. My dad came by the other day. I haven't seen him in a couple months. He lives out east, they say. He immediately, we started to talk about 70s and 80s music, as is his generation. And we're sitting there, my friends and I, and we're asking him about why so many of the 80s and 70s artists dress like women. We showed him the first couple music videos by Kiss. This is pre-makeup Kiss, and they basically just look like mothers. They look like your mother. They're wearing flowery shirts, they're wearing makeup, they're wearing mom jeans, and inevitably we got to Steve Perry of Journey. Now, I want to bring up Steve Perry of Journey as a person my dad specifically said was really showing the style of the time. That was, he looks like a mother, he's dressed like a mother, but man, is he a man. And my dad pointed out here, 70s, he said, now correct me if I'm wrong, correct him if he's wrong, he said in the 70s they told us that women liked sensitive men. And so that's why we dressed that way. But at the same time, he said, we wore super tight jeans because we wanted to show off our bulge. And we're watching this live performance of Journey Any Way You Want It in 1981. And we had already watched this video because it was hilarious the night before. And then my dad pointed out, look how tight his jeans are. You can see what's underneath them. And he said that was cool. He said that's what they said the chicks wanted to see in 1981. I don't know who they was. I don't know who they is. We will most certainly get copyright stricken if we do too much. But you can see what's happening there. You can see what I mean by the leopard print motherly top who's out for a night on the town. His jeans go up to about here, up to almost to his rib cage. They're mom jeans. And he's looking good. And this is apparently what the ladies wanted. So if you want to send a super chat or have some comments read on air about how you feel about that, how does Steve Perry's body make you feel, just look up any number of these artists from the 70s or 80s, look up a music video, and ask yourself, number one, what's stopping us from being the pinnacle of man that they were, looking like a woman but also showing our bulge through our jeans? And also imagine what society might have been like if this was the sex symbol of the time, and that's just what I wanted to say there. Don Lemon was on the NELK Boys. Amazing transition. You know Don Lemon loves Steve Perry. Don Lemon was on the NELK Boys Full Send podcast, and what we got out of the NELK Boys, which was at the time Bradley Martin, I don't know if he's officially a NELK boy, a NELK man maybe, Kyle Forgeard, and Steiny, you got a better interview than you're going to see on most network cable programs. So if Don Lemon goes on MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, they're not going to challenge him on anything he said. They're just going to agree with him. But the NELK Boys challenged him on injections, on Biden, on all sorts of stuff. And we're going to play a couple clips here. And I want you to see how the NELK Boys put on, a masterclass of how you question a person. They sort of do it in a bro-ish way where they know that the other person can't really be defensive of this. It's in a relaxing, inviting way where it's almost like they're like bullying him in a way, but not enough that he can take offense to how they're saying it. So here's one clip.
I just think we can't have a president that can't speak.
You can find instances of Donald Trump not being able
to
speak.
No, he's a great speaker.
I prefer someone who's going to put good people around him and who's smart enough to do that. The man is doing a good job. He has arthritis in his spine, so he's a little trouble walking. Okay, still a good president.
He's got arthritis in the brain, I think, too.
The only things you ever see on Joe Biden, him falling off the bike, falling up the stairs, and losing his thoughts.
Would you rather someone who falls down or someone who is going to blow up the country?
How is Trump going to blow up the country? How is he going to blow up?
No, I don't mean literally blow up the country, but you know what I mean. Someone who tries to overturn elections. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys. Don't you understand? He would have left it to blow up the country literally if they didn't correct him on that. But come on, guys. We don't have 4 years of Trump to go back on, so we wouldn't be able to compare his job to Joe Biden. That's the crazy part, is that they want to pretend they're using the same talking points because they have nothing. They want to pretend that there is no comparison already. You've had Trump, and this isn't supposed to be an endorsement, but you've had Trump for 4 years, then you have Biden for 4 years. There are zero people who think it's better, right? There are zero people who think Biden's done a better job. You can say he's done things. I know somebody who will say they've done things here and there that are good. They're part of a fantasy land, but you can say that. You can say Biden's done some good things. You can say he hasn't completely destroyed the economy. You can try to say that. But in every single facet of governance, from what a president can do and what he can influence, he's done worse. I think everybody knows that. And for then to Don Lemon to come on and say he's going to destroy the democracy, he already had a chance to do that and didn't do it. So it's really weird that this is the talking point now. And this is what Don Lemon did on the podcast. Is he was a very nice guy about not knowing a whole lot. So he would say stuff about the lockdowns and say, well, we didn't know then, so we can't look back and say that we knew everything. Hindsight's 2020. But you did know then. There were a lot of people who did know. It was called reading. And there was a lot of people who didn't want to read, and they wanted to check out. That was the government and the system giving them the chance to check out that they're looking for. There were those who just really wanted to obey. There was those who fought against it. Those who just read into things and said, hey, this isn't exactly what's being talked about. We should talk about this. And they got silenced. They brought that up over and over again with Don Lemon. And that's why it was such a good interview, is because they wouldn't let him off the hook. Bradley Martin particularly wouldn't let him off the hook. And kudos to Don Lemon for sitting there and answering. He even said at one point, you can keep asking me questions and I'll keep answering them, but I think we disagree. And the problem was that Don Lemon had pretty much zero argument.
No, I didn't get the vaccine.
I didn't get it.
No, I got the vaccine. But if someone in my office didn't want to get the vaccine, then I would.
I'm going to, you guys go watch it. I don't know what YouTube's rules are on the vaccine right now. It's great and it's wonderful.
Advocating for anybody to lose their business. But we have to remember, guys, it's not just about here in America. The entire world was shut down.
There's actually places that weren't shut down. It had a very good outcome with COVID.
Yes, but for the most part, the entire world was shut down.
This is what happens is he'll get asked a question, he'll have an answer, and they'll be like, actually, that's not true. And he'll be like, yeah, but still. And this is what happens when these people actually do these interviews. And by these people, I don't mean wonderful, flourishing gay black men. I mean left-wingers. and rhinos and, you know, Democrats and all these people who don't have to face, like, do you think AOC is going to do an interview where she's getting challenged like this? So that's why it's kudos to Don Lemon, right? But the reason that they don't is for this very same reason, is we have an hour and 35 minutes here of Don Lemon actually having to face people who have real questions. And he's pretty good at finagling his way around it. But it also just shows he's lacking a lot of facts. And this has been happening to Bill Maher recently, where he's going on shows like Megyn Kelly, and he's interviewing people like Bill Burr, who actually talk back to him. And it happens a lot, where it turns out you don't actually know what you're talking about. Because once you get past the people who are agreeing with you no matter what you say, oh, it was actually like this, and yeah, and Trump's actually a fascist, and blah, blah. When people start asking you to dig even one layer deep, they just are completely void of any semblance of an answer.
We didn't know.
But there was a lot of virologists and doctors.
I guess the doctors didn't know.
They go on for COVID for a while. I'm just trying to find, you know, you can go through the whole thing and see for yourself, but I'm just trying to find a part that won't get me demonetized.
Right, but like you said, that's...
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you should do it.
Yeah.
Listen, and I am not agreeing that it's okay for people to do it, but you have the right to do it.
Well, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I agree. We've had Dana White on a few times, and he's like talked about how people are so afraid now to like be proud to be an American.
Yes, but
which
I
think
think performative patriotism is being proud of being an American. I just think it's performative patriotism.
But I'm just saying,
being a patriot
yeah,
actually means knowing and understanding that people have the right to do things that we don't like in America.
But burning the flag is such a lack of respect for the country that you live in.
I agree.
And I feel like they don't appreciate enough that they live in a country like America.
So this is Don Lemon defending the pro-Palestine occupations of universities. Now, I haven't really given an opinion on this before, but I will in this sense. And it's that if you're crying that the fact that they're protesting and they're protesting about things that you don't like because you're super pro-Israel, then I think that's a double standard that many people on the right wing have been shown to have. But if you, but on the other hand, you can't just camp out on a university campus. Like, do you think that you can just hold an event in the middle of a university without getting a permit for it or permission from the student council or the school itself? No, you can't do that. So what makes you think you can just hold a protest at a place of business? You can't do that, and it's retarded. And for anybody who's just like, oh, they're being so mean to them, if this is a place of business, whether you agree with the university, which I almost never agree with the university, but you don't just get to just occupy somebody's place of business. Why don't these people, and I know we all know the answer to it, why don't these people ever go and sit on the steps of a Capitol? Now, it happens sometimes in Tennessee. It happened for trans rights, and it happened on a different day. But a lot of I'll say 99% of the protesters, they certainly don't do it here in Canada, but 99% of the protests, they don't actually go to the people who are making the changes. Now, they'll go on these university campuses and say, divulge and divest, and call for a ceasefire, as if the university cares about international politics. They just want your money. That's the only reason they put up with anything. But then you get these people who are basically Antifa making another Chaz or Chop Zone, and they start saying, oh, you're hurting us because we can't bring in our food onto our legal encampment on your property. It's stupid. It's stupid every way, and that's why I don't comment on it, because both sides do not like to tell the truth. Both sides do not like to admit what their real ideology is. Both sides do not see the error in their own ways, and I'm talking about the protesters. I just think we're at a point here where we don't need to worry about international conflicts. Write me more if you'd like to hear more about that. So that's just one of the many things that Don Lemon has as opinions that he actually gets pushback on in this podcast. And it just goes to show he doesn't actually know a whole lot. Don Lemon doesn't actually know a whole lot besides what he has read on the news.
Before you bust out the
can't go straight to the K-hole.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
K-hole, ketamine, Elon Musk. Let's get to some of the trans talk. Now we're getting hit with a circle. Don Lemon on here did
before we get
apparently adhere to an AI ad at the beginning.
It was toxic.
No.
I thought it was a great experience.
So you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Which would you choose? Like,
attack me on personal things that aren't true. I'm not going to do that. It's not worth my time. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So who are we voting for this year?
Who am I voting for this year?
Like who? Yeah, who we all?
Well, this is something that I could not do when I worked at CNN. Who am I going to vote for? Joe Biden.
Why?
Because I think he's doing because he's doing a good job for the country. I think that I love what he's done for prescription drugs for people. I love that he is improving the economy.
So prescription drugs, I'm going to assume he means lowering the price of insulin, which was something that Trump did, and then Biden came in and immediately took it off and then put it back in, forced them to lower the price and said, look how well I've done. If he's talking about the spending bill they passed, which included the lowering of pharmaceuticals in like 5 years, which actually isn't a thing. What they said is starting in 2026, the government can now negotiate prices with the pharmaceutical companies. I don't know if that's what he's talking about. That would be these are both poor examples if he means either one.
I love that we have, even
is
though
he improving the economy?
Yes, he is. This economy is better than the Trump economy. And I know that's tough to hear, but it's the truth.
Isn't inflation and gas prices through the roof?
Yeah, but the economy is so good. I mean, look at the economy that he inherited from Donald Trump. Donald Trump inherited.
Well, because that was during COVID.
Well, okay, but still, that's the reality. It's reality.
Yeah, but
Donald Trump inherited,
like you said, that was a crazy
Donald Trump
time.
Inherited an
that
economy,
was a once in a lifetime thing. Yeah. That's your words.
Okay, Donald Trump inherited an economy that was on fire, right? And then
this, of course, is not true. Even if you want to give people the benefit of the doubt and claim Obama's policies are actually what did it, even though it was Trump, putting pressure on different countries, putting tariffs on China, threatening to do stuff to Mexico, getting more investments from Japan. He's not just making terrible trade deals. He's not giving away money to all these different places around the world. He's making other countries pay their fair share. You could go on and on like this, and I've done this with somebody I know, and they're still just like, too bad. But, the price of gas is easily one. The cost of living is easily another. What they do is they take a comparison from Joe Biden's economy the last 2 years, and he's sort of leveled it off, just like inflation. It goes up to 9% under Joe Biden, and then it goes down to 4 or 5%. They're just like, look how well he's doing. There is no comparison through gas prices or inflation, if you want to do that, where Joe Biden is doing a great job, unless you're just comparing it to inflation that he caused. You know what I'm saying? So when they say this, that it's a better economy, and then he immediately jumps into that Trump inherited it. So Trump inherits a good economy based on what Obama did, but the stuff that Trump did that made the economy good, it's actually Joe Biden who's done this. Because what has Joe Biden, if we're going by that margin, how is Joe Biden running a great economy if it's actually based on the president before him? I'm willing to hear you argue that Trump caused inflation on this, from the spending, the lockdown, the COVID spending. I'm willing to hear that argument. I don't think he would have let this get out of control. And we have evidence that he doesn't let the stuff like this get out of control. But if you're going to say that Trump benefited from Barack Obama's policy, but Biden is running a great economy, which he's not, but he didn't benefit from Trump's. Like, did Trump create a good economy for Biden, or did he create a bad economy for Biden? And somehow Biden, figured it out. What they do is they take the COVID years under Biden and say, look how low it is, and look how terrible everything was. And then they take the next 2 years, 23 and 24, and they say, look how great it is. We got inflation way down. Look, we've created so many jobs. When you take away all these people's jobs, and all of a sudden they start going back to work, yeah, I guess you've created jobs. But that's the world Don Lemon is living in. He is living in and it's the same world Bill Maher lives in, and a lot of people live in. They have an opinion, and then they believe it to be true. They don't know anything about it, and when you say no, they then Google something in front of you and find something that agrees with them. As if your experience and your knowledge in the field doesn't mean anything because I've managed to Google something in fixed search results, in fixed YouTube results, and differently leaning, we'll call them, news articles, and they agree with me. But none of these people actually know what they're talking about, is the reality. It's very easy to sit at home and link to different articles that say what you think and agree with you, and that's what most people do, is they will say Trump's Orange Man bad, link to an article that also says Orange Man bad, and that is evidence that Orange Man is indeed bad. That's the reason why they do it. That's the reason why they pump out so many articles on certain topics, so that it becomes fact, and then people circularly link to each other. That's the reason why it's done. It's not just when you go to a left-wing website, there are very few that are actually, people who are interested in certain topics and want to write about certain topics. You're more likely to get that from like an entertainment website, right? A BuzzFeed or something like that. But if you go to one of these left-wing news websites, they're not just writing things about what they think is the greatest thing to write about right now, what's important to write about. They are writing things for a purpose, to instruct a narrative. And I'm not going to say other right-wing news websites do that. A lot of websites just do what they think is going to get the most clicks, right? But other websites will write things in depth about what they think is important. I will, instead of just promoting The Blaze right now, which I of course write for, I'll cite The Federalist as one. They write things, lengthy articles about things they think are important. I'll use The Athletic as another website that writes lengthy articles and has op-eds about things they think are important, even though they're stupid most of the time. They're still not just out there writing what they think is going to get, is the most topical thing. When you write for one of these websites, and if you work for CNN like Don Lemon, and he's got, which he admits in this interview, he's got 5 people. He says, go out, I would like to talk with this, and this, and then 5 people go out and make it happen for him. They get the guests, and they do the research for him. That's not his own research. That puts the power into the producer and the producers and the writers. You're just a vessel at that point. So for Don Lemon to come out here and speak as if he's got this knowledge about the economy, these are things he Googled or he was told in the moment, and he said, well, that's the truth. I don't need to know anybody. I'm just going to any more about that. I'm just going to bank that as fact. And that's like a very 2016 way of like, I have statistics on my side. You don't. Did Joe Biden, he created 4.6 trillion jobs. Did that happen right after everybody was put out of jobs by the government? Oh, I don't know about that. That may or may not be true. I don't know. Is that the truth? Oh, he's lowered inflation by 5%, or a record pace at which he's lowered inflation. Oh, was that from his 9% that he let it get to? Oh, I don't know about that. But you see what I mean? You find the statistic where somebody has purposely put it there, where it's just like, let's champion these statistics because I'm a PR person. But what it's compared to is not talked about. And that's the reality that a lot of these talk show hosts like Bill Maher and like Don Lemon live in, Chris Cuomo. And you can see that they're now starting to venture out because they see that there's an appetite for them to be heard on right-leaning places, and then they get demolished.
And did not do well.
Well, COVID, though. That was a thing.
COVID was a big part of it, but still, that's a reality. And so
but it's hard to
Joe Biden has taken a COVID economy, which was terrible by your own admission.
But he can't even stand up.
But it doesn't matter. We had
that matters.
No, I'll just raise my hand. We had a terrible economy that it must have been inherited from Donald Trump, even though it was terrible because of Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden's dug us out of the thing that they supported. You're not going to tell me that they wouldn't have locked people down harder, quicker, if it was a Democrat in office. These are policies that ruin the economy that we were in favor of, and now that we're no longer using these policies, the economy's gotten bigger. What are you talking about? We're amazing, and that's how it works. Let's dig us this huge hole. Let's fill in 10 more feet of dirt so you get a little bit higher and see, look how well we're treating you. Don't you guys see? Don't trust your eyes. Don't trust the gas station pump. Don't trust the $7 box of cookies at Walmart. Just believe us. I've Googled this. Believe me.
No, it doesn't matter. Let me tell you why. Because
other world leaders see him and they think he's weak.
We had a president who was in a wheelchair.
Well, he should get in a wheelchair.
There are leaders in other countries who don't have the physical.
He should just stop taking the stairs, right?
But what about?
Are you guys going to let me answer the question?
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Get the guy on an escalator.
Yeah, I think that you are. Again, I think you're being ageist, which was what I was trying to defend old people from the whole Nikki Haley comment. I think that you're being ageist. I think that Joe Biden is a fine president. He's doing great things for the country. I really do. Is he perfect? No. Is he perfect on immigration? Can he improve? Yes. Was the Afghanistan pullout, not good? Yes.
Horrible.
Messy.
Yes.
Horrible.
But every president has good and bad moments. And so I think in this moment now, I would rather a president who believes in democracy and in the Constitution rather than someone who says, when I get in office, I'm going to go after my political enemies.
They haven't done that to him. It's Joe Biden who, don't you guys understand? It's Joe Biden who believes in the democracies of America. He believes in the Constitution so much. It's actually, you were wrong. This whole time it's been Democrats and hardcore leftists that actually believe in the Constitution. And Trump said he's going to go after his enemies. We would never do that. Joe Biden would never do that. Kamala Harris would never do that. The DAs in Georgia and New York would never do that. They would never go after their enemies. Don't you get it? It's the year of the whiner. What is this called? The year of the crybaby. Don't you understand? If Don Lemon says you're mean enough, then it must be you're mean. Forget about what Joe Biden's actually done. Let's move on now because the WNBA can't stop. We showed you last week that it took just 1 week, or maybe it was 2, because we skipped a week. We showed you that the WA couldn't wait to call Caitlin Clark racist, right? It was this Aja Wilson girl. She called Caitlin Clark benefiting from her whiteness. She said she only gets she doesn't get endorsement deals because she's black, and Caitlin Clark gets endorsement deals because she's white. And then days later, she got an endorsement with Nike and Gatorade. So now the problem is we've moved on a tiny bit, the WNBA players, from saying it's racist to support her and that she's only getting support because she's pretty and white. Okay, I guess. But it's now because she gets private flights. And now everyone's upset that Caitlin Clark is getting a private flight. And they're not. But even when they are getting private flights, they're unhappy. So this is them. Obviously, this team's making all the money. Obviously, Caitlin Clark's bringing in millions of dollars for everybody. They got this huge private plane that they got, which all looks like first-class seats. It's a chartered flight, so I don't know if you can technically call it a private plane, but they've got this entire plane for themselves, right? So basically, they're paying for all the seats on a flight for just them. And it looks like the loser staff is in the back. The players get the front, right? So it's not the same as a private plane. It's just a plane all to yourself. Awesome, right? Well, it's not actually awesome. This is Sophie Cunningham. She plays for, I don't know who, the Phoenix somethings. Or something like that. Yep, the Phoenix Mercury. And that's not Ron Artest with her. I'm sorry. I don't know what that person said. But this is Sophie Cunningham. And she said that it's great and all that we have private flights or chartered flights. But it's not quite big enough.
Yeah, no, we still flew a normal flight on the way up here.
Right away, she's jealous, right? Right away, you can see she's ungrateful.
Which is not good. I think on the way home, we finally get our charter. With that, we always, we're grateful. Do not get me wrong. We are so grateful that we're able to start chartering. But with that, there's a lot of things that need to be adjusted. Our bags and some of our people can't fly with us because our charter is too small, while other teams get big planes. We want to talk about a competitive advantage. Well, that's one right there, that our team has to be split up and our bags don't even get to travel with us. And so the social media makes everything sound so great. And so butterflies and rainbows now that we got the charters, but half the teams don't even have a proper charter to fly with your whole team. So we are grateful, but there's still work to be done. And I do think that we do get a charter home tonight, which is good. But again, not everyone gets to come with us. So still need
butterflies and rainbows, you guys. It's also great that we get the charter plane, but that's not... Guys, come on. I mean, the league's only gone 25 years without charter planes, and now finally we've got one, even though nothing's changed for my team, and my team's not making any of the money. But, butterflies and rainbows, but what's next? Where's the... Do you know that some teams are getting caviar? Where is... Our shoe shiner can't travel with us. I can't get my hair done on my plane. It's too small. I can't even get my sneaker person to come with me. I'm carrying around 2, maybe 3 pairs of sneakers. Other teams are getting 6. They're getting the guy from the Complex Sneaker Show to fly with them. My charter plane's too small. Our bags don't even come with us on the same flight. I get a carry-on and 1 piece of luggage, and that's it. What am I? Did slavery come back? What's happening here? My charter plane isn't even big enough. I mean, nobody knows who I am. My name's Sophie Cunningham. I'm not even sure who I am. But why am I not getting the best? This is what's happening in the WNBA. One girl is doing really well. They've got some other girls who are popular because they're Instagram stars or whatever. They're doing well for themselves, but somehow they don't understand how this doesn't translate to private jets for everybody. And when it does translate to chartered flights, it's still not good enough. So there's this weird jealousy thing that's happening here, where it's like Allen Iverson, Kevin Garnett. We'll update our names a little bit. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic. Name who you want. Kevin Durant. They're all getting, just stick with me for this scenario. All the superstars are getting millions of dollars in endorsement deals. They're getting private jets. They're getting chartered flights. We're getting them now too, but they're not good enough. Imagine that was said, but also the NBA didn't make any money. Now they say they made about $10 to $20 million last year in the WNBA, while the NBA made a couple billion. Let's be clear here. And then they're all of a sudden thinking that because, Caitlin Clark's making a ton of money, this Angel Wilson girl's making a ton of money, Angel Reese is making a ton of money, that this somehow translates to them getting private planes and chartered flights that are humongous. We don't get the big planes that the girl who's making $18 million from Nike's getting, and therefore bringing Nike to her games. And we read about last week how she's increasing ticket prices 250% everywhere she goes. We don't understand. Why aren't we getting that? The league doesn't make any money, and these girls have individual endorsement deals, but we don't understand. And butterflies and rainbows, she says. Now, that wasn't it. We have the aforementioned Angel Reese talking about how bad it is. And then you see all the simping, and of course it's people. I mean, this page says Women's Hoops Network. Kathy just said that so Caitlin would be straight through the season. I don't know what that means. This woman, what a joke. Her team, the other teams, I don't know what these people mean. The comments are terrible. But she says, just praying that this is one of the last commercial flights Chicago Sky has to fly. Like somebody said, practicing gratitude is patience as the league introduces charter flights for all teams. I'm so grateful and I'm so patient about getting charter flights that I'm going to post an Instagram story about how much I hate it. That I'm wearing a mask on this plane. That's not weird at all that I'm wearing a mask because I can't be seen on a regular plane. I'm a star. Pay for your own flight. Pay for your own flight. You see what I mean? They are ruining it so quickly against themselves. And here's a tweet that she deleted. That's on getting a win in a packed area. I think that's supposed to say arena. She's not there for her brains. Win in a packed arena, not just because of one player on our charter flight. Riley Gaines says, incredibly disheartening to see Angel Reese attack Caitlin Clark like this, just entirely baseless and distasteful. His tweet screams jealousy and insecurity. Although Caitlin Clark probably deserved this because she's white, straight, pretty, and tall privilege, right, Sonny? And that's about Sonny Hostin, which we'll get to in a second. But Angel Reese, who's got her own big following, and of course cried about being objectified, even though she's posting her own, sex-centric content, is in Sports Illustrated. She's a victim. Saying that they packed an arena not just because of one player on their charter flight. But you say that it's so important to get the charter flight. So why is this even a point of contention? We don't know. So Charles Barkley had enough of this, and he said, Charles Barkley's one of those guys who's right a lot of the time, wrong sometimes. He's more on the right side. But here's Charles Barkley telling it like it is, I think.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bringing to the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters. She bringing all y'all this money to the table, but y'all being petty like dudes. LeBron, you 100% right. Y'all girls, stop being petty. Caitlin Clark, thank you for bringing all that money and shine to the WNBA.
Well, they're going to hate you.
They're going to hate you. He's right, though. They can't help but tear it down. And I said this from the beginning. I said they're the non-heterosexual ladies of the WNBA, and frankly, it's been mostly the straight girls complaining. And because I'd imagine the other girls have been playing and have dealt with this for a long time. They know they're being gifted millions of dollars a year in subsidies from the NBA. Probably a couple $100 million goes to the WNBA, and now they're getting charter flights, and the biggest stars, the girls who've just entered the league, or these stupid straight women, what's up with that? They're the ones complaining they're going to end up ruining the league for everybody. Imagine you're a woman who's played in the WNBA 5-10 years, and nobody cares at all what's happening, right? And then Caitlin Clark comes along, and she's building up ticket prices. They're making arguments now for wage increases. The league's finally making money. You can say, hey, look, the league makes money. Let's start thinking about paying us a little bit more. And you're just like, this is great. We got chartered flights now. We used to have to take commercial flights and be crammed in. We're 6'5", and we're crammed in all the time. Now we're getting chartered flights. And then one girl's like, ugh, our plane isn't big enough. And the other girl says, well, we can do this without Caitlin Clark. Right, girls? But the truth is you can't. And, you know, we went away from it being racist and people only liking her because she's white. That, you know, people told them to shut up for a couple weeks on that. Now we've moved on to we need bigger planes. But Sonny Hostin of The View is a little bit behind. And she can't, you know, she's never said anything smart. Sonny Hostin is just one of these people that exists to say the thing that, like, is the most progressively left thing to say. You know, cut off children's genitals. Sonny Hostin's there. You know, we need to open the border and look at this footage of people getting whipped at the border. Sonny Hostin's there to say that was real. Trump's gonna, you know, kill everyone when he gets into office. Sonny Hostin's there to back it up. Just kidding. Not real. She's there to say whatever you think is the most furthest crazy left-wing thing to possibly be said. Sonny Hostin's there to make sure it exists.
That being said, I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege. There is a thing called white privilege. There is a thing called tall privilege. And we have to acknowledge that. And so part of it is about race, because if you think about the Brittany Griners of the world, you know, why did she have to go to play in Russia?
Because they wouldn't pay her.
Because they wouldn't pay her.
Because they wouldn't pay, not because she was black, but because they didn't believe in the WNBA.
This is part of my point. So now, you know, Caitlin Clark is bringing this money, these sponsorships, we hope, into the league, and other players will benefit from it. But I do think that she is more relatable to more people because she's white, because she's attractive. And unfortunately, there still is that stigma of against the LGBTQ plus.
So many things. First of all, there's a stigma. So you say she's pretty. We're just going to lean all the way back here. We're not insulting anybody. We love Caitlin Clark, but we're just going to lean back here for a second while that comment flies right by us, right? So you say she's pretty, but then also there's a stigma against the LGBT, the basketball lesbians. So wouldn't that make exact sense? Wouldn't that make perfect sense? If you're saying she's pretty and you're saying there's a whole bunch of gay women in the league that may or may not look like they look, wouldn't that make perfect sense? But there are also other women in the league. So, like, what the hell are you talking about? There's other women in the league. You can't just say that one girl's pretty, and then so you're basically calling all the other straight women in the league ugly. or else they would be popular. If you're saying the popularity rests upon their looks, then how come there's no other popular players? She's just better than them. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? She's just better than them. I'm sorry Caitlin Clark happens to be white and she's better at basketball than the other people in the WNBA. She can shoot from really far. Don't you realize that hasn't happened before? Steph Curry can shoot from really far. He was the first guy to shoot from really far. Nobody else could do that before. Steph Curry's 6'2". He probably used to be able to dunk. I don't know if I've ever seen him dunk more than maybe once or twice. He isn't blocking people out of anywhere. He's not super fast. He can shoot really good from really far. And he won. Caitlin Clark can shoot really well from really far. What is wrong with you? Are you stupid? Is that what it is? Are we just lying to ourselves? Are we this stupid, or are we just lying to ourselves? You know, you're going to attack Charles Barkley. Are you just stupid? That's what you have to wonder. She's just really good. It's not because she's got tall, pretty, white privilege. Does LeBron James have pretty privilege? Do we only like him because he's black, or is it because he's really good at basketball? Did we like Larry Bird just because he was white, or is it because he was really good at basketball? You sound stupid. You just sound stupid. You can't imagine a world where people don't care about race as much as you. You can't imagine a world where people are just like, that person's good at a sport. Let's reward them. They entertain us. Dance, sports person. You can't imagine that. You can only imagine a world where people care about people based on their race and their looks in a sport, because that's how you think. Sonny Hostin's basically an idiot. She's basically a person who comes on screen and drools at you for an hour every day and says, hey, old women watching me, isn't it fun to be angry about stuff and think that people only do things and disagree with us because they're mean and because they're racist and sexist and anti-gay? That's the only world she can think that this happens in, because that's how she thinks. She only likes things because of their race. She only likes people because of how they look. And she wants you to believe that everybody else is the same. And if that doesn't happen, then other people, you know, there must be something wrong with them. They must be thinking that way. It can't be because of their talent, because she's not on there because of her talent. She's on there because she will just say these things. She can't imagine why anybody's against DEI. She can't imagine why people would be against being put there for the race. That's all she thinks about. Sonny Hostin, which isn't her real name. She's made fun of people for not using their real name. Whoopi Goldberg, obviously not her real name. These people are just dumb. It's time to come out and say either you're very, very stupid for saying these things constantly, or you're just lying. I think Sonny Hostin's really dumb. I don't think Whoopi Goldberg's dumb. I think Joy Behar's a liar. The View's the worst. Dave Portnoy came on after and said this on X, on Twitter. Somebody tell this racist. All these players are superstars and white. Nobody cared till Caitlin Clark. It's the way that she plays. Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. Sue Bird, I've heard of. Sabrina Ionescu. Kelsey Plum. I've heard of these ones. Kelsey Plum is there because, you know, she posts slutty pictures. I'm not sure about any of the other ones, but, like, there's a lot of girls in the WNBA, especially the new girls, that just sell their bodies online. They have a huge Instagram following. That's what they want to do, whatever, but that's what they're popular for. And then she doesn't have a problem with that. It's just that when Caitlin Clark comes on, we have a problem with it. I'm sorry to say this, Caitlin Clark, not a supermodel. She's not even that tall. She's just really good. Brittany Griner, annoying, unattractive, can't even dunk 6'9", gets arrested for being an idiot in another country. I'm sorry that these other girls have to go to Russia to play basketball, and Lithuania and Spain and all these other things. Maybe it's more popular there. Have you ever thought about that? The fact that the reason that they get paid more there is because it's more popular. They're acting like it's hateful to not be a fan of a sport. If I don't watch curling, is that because I'm hateful? Or is it the exact same thing? I don't like the WNBA, so I'm not going to watch it. Morons grinning moronally, as Homer Simpson might say. Patreon.com/UOPod is where you'll get exclusive content. We'll upload some stuff for you tomorrow because it's a holiday. You might be home. You can help me become Joe Rogan for just $7 a month. This is basement prices. You can help me. You can help yourself become a Raptors superfan, just like the Raptors superfan who somehow affords to get to every basketball game. But you won't be a Raptors superfan. You'll be a superfan of this channel. or you can become an unauthorized person and suggest commentary or reactions or a topic, anything you want, basically, and we'll cover it, which has happened before. You'll get all these wonderful podcasts that you're missing. You'll get this interview with Uncle Hack. We'll put up his soon. Maybe that'll be the one we put up tomorrow. We'll put it up on the Patreon in full. That might not be the right one to put up right away, but we do have stuff to put up. Who will I put up? I don't know. Patreon.com/UOPod. You can help us out by subscribing there. You'll get all the stuff. Anomaly podcast that we've done. The What is a Woman thing we did at a convention center, at a women's conference, mind you. And we'll be going to a conference again soon. So you always get the early look at it, and you always get the exclusive extended version. That is patreon.com/UOPod. And we're back. Theblaze.com. You also get my exclusive interviews there. There is a video going around, what goes around comes around, and it's about a woman wondering why high-value jobs for women or women that are executives is not more appreciated. I haven't watched the whole thing. We're going to react to it in real time. And we're going to be honest here. And the question that this woman is positing is why high-value men don't date high-value women.
Why high-value men think that hard-working women, like entrepreneur women, are complicated in real life, and why do they not date them? Let me explain.
So the first thing I have to say about that is you're making a TikTok. There's strike number one. Does a guy want a girl who wants to be a social media star? No. Are you a social media star? Okay, maybe we'll talk about that. Is it for your business? Okay. We can probably talk. Depends on what you post, I guess. As long, like, you know what type of content we're talking about. But a woman who's just posting on TikTok about why men don't care about her is right away a sign that this is probably not a woman you want to date.
Let me explain what I'm saying. I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, and I was like, I struggle finding a man who's gonna accept that I'm self-driven, that I go to the gym every morning, that I run my own business, that I'm a consultant, that I'm intelligent, that I have multiple degrees, an MBA and so on, that I work a lot on myself, that I do self-development, and I struggle finding someone who has a business as well, who is self-driven, who is good-looking, and I think that they're all looking for dumb girls. I'm sorry to say that, but just simple girls. Girls who are just like employees, barely working or something.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think they are okay with women who are just employees, or women that are not up at 5 a.m. running their businesses? Of course, it's fine that you own a business. It's fine that you go to the gym. It's fine, all these things. But first of all, you're saying that they prefer dumb women. I think it was more accurate to say simple women, women that aren't on TikTok complaining about things. I don't know. Any of the people that I know that are in marriages, their wives aren't complaining on TikToks about not being able to find a man. Interesting how that works. What else did she say here? This woman is, I'm guessing this woman's a boss lady. She's saying words like well-driven, a self-driver, finding someone who has a business as well. She sells development. She's a consultant. It sounds like she does a lot of stuff. Oh, that was the thing, that she says she has multiple degrees. That's not really a thing. I don't think women necessarily look for that in a man either, for a guy who has degrees. That's a weird bar to have, because you can have a degree in sociology, you can have a degree in gender studies. That doesn't mean anything. That's really very like 90s. You got to go to school, you got to get a degree. You got to pay $100,000 for school. Well, what if I just want to pay $10,000 and become an electrician and have money really quickly? Well, that's not it. You don't have any degrees. I think this woman is a victim of listening to the TV and listening to TLC and listening to TikTok, of course, listening to Instagram and listening to other women who tell her that to be a big boss lady, and that just doesn't end up working out. It'd be like Like, do girls want a man who just sits there and listens to Andrew Tate all day? I mean, that person would be better off than the female equivalent. It'd be like a woman who sits there and listens to a porn star all day about what she should have and how people should respect sex workers. But this woman's listening to too much of that instead of just going out and listening to what men want. I mean, if a man wants to know what, that's the difference, is men sort of can go their own way and still be attractive to women, but a woman who just sits there and thinks that it's all about her, it's not going to work out. It's kind of like a guy who's just like, I'm going to just sit there and pick my nose all day and sit in my underwear, eat cold Chef Boyardee, which I've never done, of course, and just be like, what's wrong? Why can't I just be exactly this thing and you have to accept me? That's the difference, is that women will do exactly what they think is the greatest thing in the world, that other women, that morbidly obese women and lesbians will tell them is the greatest thing in the world, to be a sex worker and strive to be a writer at Now This, and or be a boss lady. And you know, when people have a problem with the way you act, it's because they don't respect you and not because you're bitchy. That's bossy is called bitchy in this world. They listen to all these things from women that no one actually cares about, and they're just like, how come it's not working? Whereas a guy will tell another guy, they're like, you're a fat slub, you do nothing with your day, and you'll tell your friend that he's basically a moron and he needs to start cutting his hair or shaving their beard or start wearing deodorant, and that'll be fine. And things will work out probably. Whereas a girl will be doing whatever the equivalent is you want it to be, and then the other girl will be like, that's awesome. You need to get 6 degrees. You need to be $300,000 in debt. You need to never shave your armpits because that's the patriarchy. You need to have an OnlyFans because that's fighting against the patriarchy also. And if they have a problem with it, then too bad. This happened with Jonah Hill, if you recall. Jonah Hill was accused of being, controlling and a sexist, for saying that he didn't want his girlfriend to have her ass showing online. And she's like, how dare you? And then all other women were like, how dare you tell her what to do? And now she's alone. And maybe she'll get somebody else because she's a celebrity or something. I don't know. She was a surfer or something. And maybe they'll do that. But this is what happens when you listen to women who tell you that's a good thing. Jonah Hill, now I'm not going to say he's the hottest dude in the world. He's up there. But Jonah Hill's a pretty successful guy. And now all he asked you to do was not, present yourself online to be ogled at by other men, which means that's what you're hoping to get, which means you can't live without the other men ogling at you. You think it's a form of freedom because that's what we all know that it's for. And now you don't have him anymore. Let's see what else this woman had to say.
Working or something, and my friend told me, you know what? It's because those men are working hard during the day and they are afraid that at the end of the day, they will have a woman competing with them, like talking about business at the end of the day, or like too intelligent and trying to confront them at some point. And I was like, no way, I'm competing with myself all day long. I'm competing with my clients. I'm competing with my competitors all day long. I work hard. Whenever I go back home, I want peace, I want cuddles, I want love, I want sex, I want something, I just want a connection with the person I love. So this is a misconception you have, maybe because I'm a hypersensitive person, maybe there are businesswomen who are really into their masculine energy, but I'm not. It's not because I run a business that I'm not feminine. And trust me, when I go back home, I look like this, but with all the feminine energy, I'm loving, caring, and so on. So if you are a man, high-value man with a business to run, a lot of things to handle during the day, and you're like, oh my God, I prefer having a dumb blonde girl, welcoming me home and just saying, oh, what do you need, honey, and something, you're wrong. I mean, most of empires are built because people, they are like strong couple.
I'm going to disagree with a lot of what she's saying here. First of all, I don't believe her that that's what this woman wants. I think she wants to be respected as the high-value businesswoman that she claims to be. So I don't see how you could just be that all day and then just act like you want to be this other person at home. Now, I don't think people are afraid of it. It's just they don't like it. And that's a common thing that, you know, it's pretty like high schoolish. And you've seen it in many like movies and TV and stuff, and the person's not attracted to another person and they say, oh, are you gay or something? That's the vibes I'm getting here. What the person, I guess, got across to her, and she took it this way, was that guys don't want another guy. Like, they don't want to go and talk to a girl about guy things. And you can say that it's not a hyper masculine thing to talk about business, but like, you'll talk about your wife's business. You're happy to talk about that. But this woman's talking about she's such a high value thing. She's in a power couple. What are the power couples you can think of? Are you Beyonce? Are you Jennifer Aniston? Like, are you this insane millionaire? Maybe, I guess. But like, those relationships don't last. Like, do you think Jay-Z and Beyonce are a real couple? Like, this is what I'm guessing this is what most people would throw to first, a power couple. But do you know that like the richest women in the world are that rich because they've divorced a super rich guy? Like Bill and Melinda Gates, for example, or one of these princes, or a gigantic evil corporation, the CEO or the board member's wife divorces him and becomes a billionaire. Do you know that's where that comes from most of the time? That the richest women in the world have obtained their wealth through divorce or inheritance from a dead spouse. So this idea that there's this huge power couple thing, if that's what you want, you're not going to have time for each other. So that's sort of where the thing comes. These guys don't want a girl who's just going to be taking the 12-hour shift, staying at the office till 9 p.m. They want a woman that they can come home to. And then to her, she sees that as a threat. You know, she sees that as that person's inherently dumb. A wife that stays at home, or a mother that stays at home, is inherently dumb, and that's how she characterizes it. Not me. She characterizes it as a dumb blonde you want to come home to. Well, why is the person dumb? That's the interesting point. I think she's just finding out that the path that she chose isn't exactly the path that men want, and all of a sudden she's realizing that and she doesn't like it, because she thought she was doing all the right things. Now, I try to relate this to the equivalent to a man so that I can prove that I'm a good person. I don't know. What would be the equivalent as a man who he goes out and, you know, it's hard for me to think about because like most men just sort of do what they want. And, you know, maybe a guy, I'll use one of these online guys who does one of these dating things, let's say these dating podcasts, or maybe he's a guy like Tommy Lee or something, even though that's a really outdated reference. So, just picture a guy who does things that girls doesn't like, and he does it for 20 years, and then he's home at the end of the day and he wonders why he can't get a chick. Maybe he's a guy who serially divorces women. Maybe he's a guy who talks bad about women. Maybe he's a guy who maybe he's Donald Trump. Maybe there's a politician who speaks out against trans rights and women don't like that. Or maybe half of women. Whatever you see as a woman as being a guy who does stuff that you really don't like or you really don't care to get to know about, and you've become successful at it. That's what it's like. I mean, sure, you've got degrees, but guys don't care about that. Sure, you've got a gigantic business. Guys don't care about that. Sure, you have all this business experience, but guys don't care about that. And there's a difference between guys saying, you know, I hate something and I don't care about that. No guys hate you or think it's gross or weird because you have a successful business. Many men have wives with successful businesses and work a lot. And work during the day just like him. But that doesn't mean that it's the thing that attracts them to him the most. She thinks that the things that she's attracted to in a man is what a guy should be attracted to. It's just not true. And it doesn't make them... I mean, I'm sure you've heard a guy badmouth another guy and it sounds stupid. Like, for this girl to say that a person who's at home is therefore dumb, it sounds like jealousy.
Power couple. And you can be in a power couple and having someone extremely supportive and kind and loving and caring when going back home and not talking about business. Just asking you how was your...
It sounds to me like a guy broke up with her because she talked about business a lot.
know how much you have to handle during the day.
I think we've spoken enough on that. I want to talk about Justin Trudeau and how much he loves us. Justin Trudeau, he knows that he's very likely to lose, and he wants to give away some free things. And I thought he gave some great remarks on this podcast. I think it's in French, about how he's given away more free stuff. He's given away stuff for contraception, and it's just really weird. I thought it was very weird how he talks about this, about how it's like your right to have the pill.
J'ai vu que vous voulez rendre la contraception gratuite au pays.
Okay, this is in French. I'll read you the captions. I saw that you want to make contraception free in Canada. Is that because, I'll mute it, is that because we will soon no longer be able to afford children? So that's a very climate changey question. You want to make birth control free because we shouldn't, obviously this was told of her to say. He says, on the contrary, we know that, and it is not contraception, it is prescription contraceptives. Contraception for women, mainly because we know that whether it is the pill, whether it is implants, IUDs, and all that, that is an investment. It involves expenses that are more expensive than just buying a box of condoms at the pharmacy. And there are too many young women, in particular, who find that it is an additional living cost that they cannot afford. But we need women to always have the freedom to choose when they want to start a family, or if they want to start a family. We have that recognized, but that these prescription contraceptive expenses should be covered by pharmacare. Okay, so obviously it's not free. Justin Trudeau is pretending that it's free. If you want to hear some French, here's some French.
Et donc, on va le faire.
And so we're going to do it, eh? Yes, I'm allowed to say that.
Ils n'arrivent pas à avoir, mais on a besoin.
So to say that it's your right to be able to choose that, I mean, it is your right to choose if you want to have sex with somebody, but to say because, things that were invented after, in the early 70s, which I think the pill was invented then, to say that's a right, to say that Plan B and abortion pills are all right. That's crazy talk, right? That's like saying having access to, a Coors Light with Dylan Mulvaney on the can is a right. Something that was invented in the last 20 years is not a right. Something that isn't, written into your constitution is not a right. You can't just start creating rights. Trans rights, it's not a thing. Contraceptive rights, it's not a thing. You can't just start saying things that are, I really like these things, therefore they're right now, and therefore the taxpayer has to pay for them. But the dark and sinister part about this, and which is something I heard Tucker Carlson start talking about recently and with his interview with Chris Cuomo, is why are they, as in hyper left-wing people and liberals, in this case the liberals, so focused on this sort of thing? Why do they want to give away taxpayer money for abortion pills and for, the pill and Plan B? A lot of pills going on. Isn't it weird how it's just like, take these pills? If somebody just hands you a thing of pills, is your first instance to trust them as opposed to handing you an apple or flowers or a box of chocolates or money? When somebody hands you pills, do you usually trust that? Is that your instinct? But why do they want this? Why do they want to spend so much of the taxpayers' money on keeping women from getting pregnant? Now, they say it's because they're nice and because you're mean and because women should be able to defy nature. I mean, that's what it is. This is not a judgment on that. It's literally just defying nature. It's not preventative. It's defying nature, because whereas a condom is preventative, a diaphragm would be the equivalent, right? Preventative. Whereas the pill is defying nature, Plan B is defying nature, abortion is defying nature, etc. Why are they so important to them? Because they know that if women start having families, they will get different values. That's why it's important to them. Women who are single and, hormones from these pills, and don't come at me as if these contraceptives don't change hormones. These women overwhelmingly vote liberal. And who are the women that are most likely to use this? Young women. Young women are the most likely to vote left wing. So they need to keep their voting block. And their voting bloc is young women. Why? Because they're, and same goes for men, but we're focusing on women here. At that age, they're very naive, finding new things out. You're young. You want to sleep with the most people at that time, typically. And they haven't learned as much about the world. As soon as you start having kids, the reality start kicking in, right? I need a job. I need money. How much does this cost? I have to budget. Where am I going to live? All these other things that you can kind of push off. I'm living at home, or I can have a part-time job. I'll just take out student loans until the cows come home. But once you start having kids, things change, obviously. They want to keep their voting bloc single and angry. They want to have these women thinking that things are being taken away from them. That's why they say rights. People think rights are something you deserve to have. Shelter, food, water, human rights. Even though, arguments for that. But that's where it comes from. If you've ever wondered why they care so much about this, why they care so much about the pill and giving it away for free with your taxpayer dollars, this is what they mean. They mean we need these people to remain single and not have families, because when they're single and they don't have families, they rely on social services a lot more because they end up getting into debt more. They don't really look into these issues. We can really make these things seem abstract, but when you have kids, things are less abstract, they're more real, and you become inherently more conservative, or at least less liberal, because you see the real world, you see the cost of living, you see the cost of taking care of a child. You see what they're teaching your children, and you don't like that. Justin Trudeau knows this, or he's just told to do this, even though he's got kids. Why wasn't his wife on birth control? Why wasn't she taking abortion pills? Lots of questions to be asked. Why is he not getting estrogen put into his body more than he already does? Allegedly, folks, come on. But that's where that comes from. Let's close out here. We got a couple things in the chat about Jesus dying on the cross. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. And then somebody else says, I'm sure Jesus would be against eating fast food. Burger sleuth. Thought you would pick up on that one. Interesting conversation in the chat about whether or not Jesus would eat fast food. I think Jesus would eat what was available to him, for the record. I don't think he would be gluttonous, which is the point. And if you don't eat anything in gluttony and in excess, I think you're going to be all right, as long as it's part of a balanced breakfast. But the last thing I want to share with you is Media Matters thinking that it's on the good side. Somebody from Media Matters, I'll try to hide the person's name as much as possible, but then again, they don't like you, so why would I guess? But a person from Media Matters posted this on X. Bad news, I've been laid off from Media Matters, along with a dozen colleagues. There's a reason far-right billionaires attack Media Matters with armies of lawyers. They know how effective our work is, and it terrifies him. So I don't know what that means. I think that's a shot at Elon Musk. So Kat Abu, I guess I don't know why we would hide this. This is who we're working with. It's a little bit like Lady Gaga, I guess. She's upset that she was fired. Michael Malice, Ian, everybody, Raheem chimes in here that Kat Abu was so happy on BuzzFeed that Tucker Carlson got fired. Well, that's pretty interesting. Kat Abu Ghazaleh is a senior video producer for Media Matters, a nonprofit. So she doesn't understand why right-wing billionaires are going after Media Matters. Does she know that I am willing to bet, and she can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm willing to bet that she doesn't know that she is employed by a left-wing billionaire that attacks other media companies. So if you're going to say that Elon Musk is a right-wing billionaire, I don't think he's that right-wing. He's just kind of normal, right? And that scares people. There's a far right-wing billionaire that attacks Media Matters. I'm going to bet that this person does not know that they're employed by far left billionaires whose job it is to attack other people. And not even billionaires, people who don't have the means to protect themselves, as well as Elon Musk or George Soros does. George Soros, whom she was employed by, now is fired from, I guess, uses money to influence elections and currencies and governments, but most recently district attorney races. He uses his money to attack regular people And by attack, I mean put crazy people in charge so that they let criminals out and have a very high threshold for keeping somebody in jail. And she's mad that a billionaire is attacking her company that's owned by a billionaire. Would somebody who works at Twitter be mad that George Soros is attacking Elon Musk? Maybe. But is that really, if billionaires are fighting, isn't a left-wing organization supposed to be anti-billionaire? And she's concerned that her own billionaire boss is being attacked. I'm not sure. But she goes on to say, good news, it takes a lot more than that to shut me up. Ho-ho! My DMs are open. If you're hiring, please consider my other friends too. Which is weird. Left-wingers do this a lot. They say, hello everyone, I've been fired. Please hire me. Does that work? I'm wondering if that works. Did they lay off anyone or just the most useless? Isn't that weird? Why wouldn't you want to, try to get a job instead of you are no longer wanted somewhere else, so please hire me. That's not the greatest business pitch, because it was a layoff. I guess that's why you're doing that. But it's really weird, and I only see left-wing people doing that. I don't see, let's just throw out some names. Like, do you think Jack Posobiec would be like, I've been fired? He doesn't really need to. I don't know. It could be anyone. Do you think that's a good thing? It's a very left-wing thing to do, and I don't know why you would do it. And I don't know why at the same time you do it and say these people are pieces of crap, basically. And the idea here is that Elon Musk has attacked Media Matters, and they can't defend themselves with armies of lawyers. You're owned by a person with just as much money, and you're just like, how dare you sue a company that shit talks people all the time and says they're hateful and everything and takes clips out of context all the time. How dare you sue us? Isn't that really weird that this person wants to be able to work for a company that pushes things out of context clips on people without impunity or with impunity, and once the people defend themselves against them, they're just like, oh, we're just poor Media Matters. We're just poor Anti-Hate Network Canada. How dare you? It's weird that they feel entitled to be able to try to ruin people's lives all the time. And you can't complain about that. You can't fight against it. It'd be like, imagine how a left-wing person sees Fox News as this like fascist network, right? Which obviously isn't true. And then Fox News starts going out of business or starts laying people off, and the person's like, how dare you? We're just an innocent, gigantic news corporation. Like, they can pretend. How many followers does Media Matters have? 500,000, it looks like, backed by the Soros family, and you're just like, we're just a poor little company. This is where it turns into 13th century British. We're just a poor wee company. We're just scribes over here at Media Matters. We've never done anyone harm. And now you're taking us out to pasture. Now you're taking us 6 pence and burying us in the bellows of the beast. I don't know. I've run out of steam here. We're going to close up shop, I think. Patreon.com/UOPod. I promise you I will upload something on Monday. If you're listening on Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Leave us a review. If you're on Rumble or X, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Share our videos, please. We're growing all the time. We love it. The podcast, more viewers every week. We love it. Don't you love me? Or is it because of my race, gender, height? Brittany Griner can't even dunk, you guys. She's like 6'9". She can't even dunk. We'll hit you next time. I almost ended the screen without giving you the outro. Is there an outro on this? There's usually an outro, right? I'm forgetting. See you next time. Happy holidays. And that's not a Christmas thing. I'll say Christmas. It's just that there's Canadian and American holidays, and we love both, don't we?
Turn it up, Jordan.